There is a thin line between what we know and what we fear, between the world we touch and the world that touches us. Step across the line. You're traveling beyond the veil into visions and verities.
Submitted for your consideration. Two brothers on holiday. An amusement park at closing time. A ride with no line. And the very old question of what happens to children who stop wanting to come home. I call tonight's story Fun Forever. Alton Towers, Staffordshire, August 1988. Jamie Whitmore was 11 years old on the August Tuesday his brother Alex talked him into the black hole too. He was older now, and he had spent a long time deciding how much of what happened that evening was a story that he could tell. This is that story. He wants you to know that Alex is fine. Well, mostly fine. Almost completely fine, except for the laugh, and that thing that happens sometimes in the laugh. Jamie would later say that you had to understand the candy floss first, because if you hadn't had candy floss from Alton Towers on a hot August day when you were 11 years old and your feet were already aching from the log flume queue, you couldn't fully understand what kind of a day it had been before everything went wrong. It had been a perfect day, right up until it wasn't. It had been genuinely the best day ever. Mom and Dad had driven them up the night before, and they'd stayed in a B&B that smelled of carpet cleaner and fried eggs. In the morning, they had been at the gates when they opened. The corkscrew twice. The log ride 3 times because Alex kept saying he wasn't actually wet enough. The pirate ship, which Jamie liked, but would never really admit he liked it because Alex would say it was for little kids. The gardens near the ruins, where Mom made them walk slowly and look at things so that Dad could take about 40 photographs with his camera that would all come out slightly blurry in the end. And the towers themselves? Oh, they were brilliant. In case you've never been, enormous Gothic ruins right in the middle of the park. Towers and arches and window frames with no glass in them. All that Victorian stonework going back at the edges. You weren't allowed in the actual ruins, but you could walk around them. At dusk, when the park lights came on and the sky went orange behind the stonework, it looked like something out of a story. Exactly like something out of a story, Jamie would think later. The kind of story where the beautiful places at the edges of the beautiful day was the last place you should wander into after hours. But Jamie didn't think that then. Then he was 11 and sticky with candy floss, and the happiest he'd been in months. And Mom and Dad were on a bench by the fountains sharing an iced cream and looking happy together in the specific way they sometimes looked happy together, which was not always available and therefore was precious. That was when Alex grabbed Jamie's arm. "Look at that," Alex said. He was pointing at the ride Jamie hadn't noticed before, set far back from the main path behind trees strung with blue and white lights. A large inflatable dome, deep black, the color of clear sky at midnight, with Black Hole 2 written on it in letters that looked like they were made of compressed starlight. Underneath, smaller, the ultimate voyage beyond the stars, for the brave only. New space posters surrounded the entrance. A booming recording voice promised journeys beyond the known universe. The queue was almost empty. Most people were heading back to the exits, because the park would close in about an hour. Jamie felt the uneasy thing then. Not fear exactly, but the shape of a mistake before you could name the mistake. "The queue is short because it's nearly closing," Jamie said. "Mom and Dad are sitting down over there. We should—" "Are you joking?" Alex was already walking towards it. "One last ride, practically empty, 10 minutes. It looks really dark." "It's a space ride, Jamie. Space is dark. Don't be such a chicken." Jamie wanted you to note that for the record, he was not being a chicken. He was being correct. But he was 11 and Alex was 13, and the unspoken law of brothers was that you did not let the older one see you bottle it. So Jamie went to Mom and Dad. "One last ride?" Dad said, already tilting the rest of the ice cream back. "Come straight back after." "Half an hour," Mom said, "and don't wander." They ran for the entrance before their parents could change their mind. The inside of the dome smelled of electricity and something else. Not unpleasant, just unusual, like the air before a thunderstorm. The ride tracks curved out of sight in darkness, and the train at the platform was new and gleaming. The cars were shaped like spacecrafts, with dual seats side by side. Alex made straight for the front car, and Jamie climbed in beside him. The lap bars came down with a solid final click. The recorded voice began, male, measured, with a slight echo of something speaking in a very large empty space. "Welcome, brave explorers. You are about to embark on the ultimate voyage beyond the stars. Sit back, hold tight, and remember, in space, no one can hear you scream." Alex loved that. He punched Jamie's shoulder. Jamie laughed. The lights went out, and it was brilliant. Actually, the track twisted and dove in ways you couldn't anticipate, which was terrifying in exactly the right way. The way that made you laugh instead of cry. Stars and glowing asteroids swept past on the walls and ceiling. A helix pressed them into their seats. A drop lifted them against the lap bars. Alex was whooping. Jamie was whooping. This was exactly the kind of thing that the day had been building towards. And then the stars started going the wrong way. They moved with a wrongness of something that had been running in one direction for a long time and had just suddenly reversed. Not smoothly, but with a lurch, like a tape rewinding. The projected images stuttered. The track beneath them did something that no roller coaster track should do. It slowed, and then it stopped. Not like a ride reaching its end, but like a ride that had been interrupted. The recorded voice came back. The same male voice, the same measured tone, but the words were different. "Sit back, hold tight, fun forever." Then there was a lurch, a ripping sound. Jamie felt more than heard. A half second of total weightlessness, and then light. Bright, clean, clinical light flooding the car from all sides. They were not inside the dome anymore. The lap bars clicked open. The station was enormous. It occupied the interior of what appeared to be a space structure of impossible scale. The walls, curved upward and away from the platform until they became a ceiling hundreds of feet above. And at one end of the structure, through windows that took up an entire wall, a black hole was visible. Oh, it was beautiful. That is important to say. It was genuinely, achingly beautiful. A perfect circle of absolute darkness surrounded by a disk of light that bent around its edges in rings of amber and white and deep blues. The colors of something that had been burning for longer than the human mind could usefully contemplate. The light at the edge of it moved slowly like water moving into a drain, and where it moved it made colors that had no name in any language the two boys knew. Jamie stood on the platform and stared at it. Alex stood on the platform and stared at it, both of them for approximately 4 seconds. But it was Jamie that noticed everything else. Everything else was the station itself. Neon signs in every direction. Welcome, kids only, no grown-ups allowed, free candy dispensers along every wall. Not the kind that required money, the kind that simply gave you what you wanted when you put your hand under them. Arcade machines in long, bright rows, every screen already mid-game, every game rigged with the generosity of a place that wanted you to win and never leave. Zero-gravity zones roped off in the middle of the floor where children bounced off the ceiling in slow arcs, screaming with delight. Rides without queues, a ball pit the size of a swimming pool, a screen the size of a house showing every cartoon ever made all at once. And children. Dozens of them. Hundreds of them, maybe, running, shouting, laughing in the echo-rich acoustics of the station. Some in park clothes, like Jamie and Alex. Some in clothes from different years. A girl in what looked like a 1970s school uniform. A pair of boys in shorts and bracers that belonged to a much earlier time. All of them laughing. All of them moving with the feverish energy of children who had been told there was no bedtime and had been awake for longer than was probably advisable. Alex was already heading to the nearest candy dispensers. "Wait," Jamie said. "Why? It's free," said Alex. "It's all free. Look, Jamie, this is... I don't even know what it is, but it's brilliant. Come on." Jamie came on. He was 11, and it was indeed brilliant. And the first 10 minutes were the best 10 minutes of the entire day, which had already been the best day ever. The space candy tasted of sherbet and something else. Something that buzzed and tingled on the back of your tongue in a way that was pleasant and slightly alarming simultaneously. The arcade machines were as rigged as they appeared. Jamie won every game he touched, jackpot after jackpot, and the machines rewarded him with tickets that piled up at his feet with no apparent limit. Alex cleared the zero-gravity bouncing area like a boy who had been waiting his whole life for gravity to be optional. It was Jamie who started noticing the wrong things. Because Jamie was the cautious one. Because being the cautious one was not, as Alex believed, the same as being a chicken. It meant his eyes kept moving, even when his hands were busy winning. And what his eyes found, after 20 minutes or so, was this. There were clocks on the station walls, but they did not move. All of them, he counted 6 from where he was standing, showed the same time, and none of them had moved since they arrived. And this was not a matter of his being too busy to notice. He had been watching. They were stopped. Some of the other children's laughs had an edge to them. Not all the children and not all the time, just an occasional, for a moment, strangeness in the laugh that would tip over into something that was not right. It was a register too low and 1 octave too rough to be entirely human. A laugh that was trying to be a laugh and was something else underneath. One boy, maybe 12, running past a ball pit. Jamie was almost certain in the second that he had to look that the boy's ears were slightly pointed at the top. Not dramatically, not cartoonishly, just slightly. The way something looks that is in the process of becoming something else and hasn't quite finished yet. Jamie tugged on Alex's sleeve. "Alex, I think we should find a way back." "Are you mental?" Alex had 4 packets of space candy in his pockets, and his hair was standing up from zero gravity, and he looked happier than Jamie had seen him look in years. "We just got here. There's a whole section over there we haven't even—" "The clocks aren't moving." "So? It's space. Clocks work differently in space." "Alex, Jamie, Alex." Alex's face had the expression of someone who was enjoying themselves too much to be patient with someone who wasn't enjoying themselves enough. "We are in space, on a space station, at the edge of a black hole. This is the single most amazing thing that has ever happened to either of us. Mom and Dad said a half an hour. We've been here, 15 minutes? Oh, there's loads of time. Stop worrying and eat some more candy." He thrust a packet of space candy at Jamie and went back to the zero-gravity zone. Jamie ate the candy. Of course he did. He was 11, and it was delicious. He told himself the clocks probably did work differently in space, so he went and played another arcade game. And he won. Immediately. He told himself the other boy's ears had been a trick of the light. In the zones where the older children ran, the girl who had arrived in the 1970 school uniform was sitting against the wall with her knees drawn up. She was watching the other children with the expression of someone who had been here for a very long time and remembered, albeit dimly, that things were different before. Her ears were unmistakably pointed. She had a short, rough tail, barely visible above the waistband of her skirt, and she had stopped trying to hide. When one of the new arrivals ran past her, she opened her mouth and laughed, and the laugh that came out was entirely animal. For 3 clear seconds before she caught herself and made it human again, she did not seem distressed about it. That was the worst thing. She seemed perfectly content. She had been here long enough that the content was real. The 2 boys in the shorts and bracers that belonged to a decade before Jamie and Alex were born were playing an arcade machine in the corner, and they played it with the fluid, automatic ease of children who had played the same game thousands of times and had stopped registering that they were playing it. Their ears were also fully pointed, and their teeth, when they laughed, and they laughed frequently at nothing and everything, were wrong. Their laughter was indistinguishable from the bray of a donkey. They did not try to hide it. There was nothing left in them that remembered it needed hiding. And Alex, Alex in the zero-gravity zone, Alex, who had been happier these last 20 minutes than he'd been since the school year started, Alex, whose school year had been hard in ways that he had not told his parents about and would not tell Jamie about unless pushed, Alex, who had found in this place a version of freedom that his ordinary life had not been offering him. Alex's ears were beginning, not dramatically, just at the tips, just the faintest lengthening and sharpening, visible for a moment when his hair flew back in the zero-gravity bounce, and then hidden again when he landed. And his laugh, when it came, was still his laugh, still recognizably his, but there was something in it. Something new that sat just in the bottom register of it, like a hinge waiting to be used. He loved it. Every time it happened, he laughed harder. The black hole outside the observation window pulsed. Not visibly, not in a way you could measure, just a quality in the light at its edge, a momentary increase in the pull of it. The way a drain pulses when something large goes down it. It pulsed every time a child in the station did something reckless. Every time one of them chose the wild thing over the careful thing, the selfish thing over the kind thing. It pulsed with a sort of satisfaction that had nothing to do with hunger. It was the satisfaction of a thing being fed slowly on a specific kind of energy. that it had learned long ago how to cultivate. Jamie found the old car behind the candy wall. He had gone looking for a toilet. There were no toilets in the station, apparently, which he should have noticed earlier, and instead, he found himself in a corridor behind the main hall where the walls were less polished and the lighting was the harsh white of utility rather than the warm glow of welcome. And in the corridor, shoved against the wall like something forgotten or hidden, was a ride car. Old. The paint faded, the upholstery cracked with Alton Towers stickers on the side that had gone pale with age. And in the front, where a modern car would have been, the ride logo, a small metal plate with the words pressed into it, "The more you play, the more you stay. Bad boys and girls make the best donkeys. If you are still mostly good, go now." Jamie stood in the corridor and read it 3 times. Then he felt the itch behind his own ears, a small, warm, incessant itch that had been there since the space candy, and that he had been telling himself was nothing. He ran back into the main hall. "Alex," he said. "Alex, we have to go right now." Alex was on all fours in the zero-gravity zone, laughing at the ceiling. His ears were wrong. Not a little wrong now, but genuinely, unmistakably, completely wrong. Long and pointed and moving slightly in a way that ears should not move. And his laugh, when it came, finally had the hinge open. "Alex! Alex!" Alex looked at him. In his face for just a second, just long enough, there was something that recognized Jamie, something that remembered who it was and what it was supposed to be going home to. Then the other children in the zone laughed and cheered, and Alex laughed with them, and the recognition went away. "Stay!" they chanted soft and low. "Stay, stay, stay!" Jamie turned and ran for the platform. The platform was at the far end of the station, and Jamie ran the whole length of it, dodging children who looked at him with those wrong ears and those wrong laughs, and some of whom reached for him with hands that were not quite hands anymore, not claws or hooves, not yet, just hands that were in the process of forgetting what they were for. The return car was there, on a quiet siding off the main platform. No neon above it, no signs, just one single car, the same spacecraft shape as the one that had brought them, but older looking, worn at the edges, and the upholstery patched. A soft voice came from it, barely audible over the noise of the station. "Still mostly good? Come home before it's too late." Jamie looked back. Alex was on his feet, but he was wrong in ways that are difficult to describe properly. It was not dramatic, not the cartoon version of what was happening to him. It was subtler, and therefore terrifying. He was still Alex. He was still mostly Alex, but the edges of him were softening, rounding, becoming something that would eventually lose the right shape entirely if he stayed here long enough. And he was laughing as he came towards Jamie, laughing in the way he had been laughing for the last... Jamie didn't know how long. The clocks really didn't move here, but longer than he had realized. And the laugh had the hinge all the way open now. "Come on," Alex said. "There's more. There's loads more. You haven't even seen the..." "Get in the car, Alex," Jamie said. "Get in the car." Alex stopped. The laughter stopped. The station was loud around them. Dozens of children, the arcade machines, the candy dispensers, all of it going at full volume. But between the two brothers, there was a specific personal silence. The kind that existed between brothers when something real was being decided. Jamie felt the itch spreading down his back. He felt it becoming something more than an itch, something with weight to it, something that wanted him to stop running towards the platform and turn around and go back to the candy dispensers and the games that let you win. He felt all of that, and he grabbed Alex's arm. "Mom and Dad are waiting," Jamie said. "Half an hour. Come home." It was not a clever thing to say. It was not a brave thing to say. But it was the true thing to say, the only true thing Jamie had in his hands right in that moment. Mom and Dad, on the bench by the fountain. The ice cream, the camera, the ordinary happiness of a family on a good day. Alex looked at him. In his face, all the way through the wrong eyes and the wrong ears, all the way through the laugh that had been changing, Jamie saw him deciding. And Alex got in the car. The door closed. The darkness came back. The stars outside the car's window swept past in reverse, going backwards through the dark, and Jamie felt the specific weightlessness of a journey running in the wrong direction, at speed, not the forward weightlessness of a coaster drop, but the backward kind, the kind that felt like being pulled up the fall rather than falling down it, like something was reeling you in rather than letting you go. Jamie kept his eyes on Alex. And as they traveled, Alex's ears went back down as they moved, not instantly, gradually, the way things unbecome themselves when whatever they had been feeding was not instantly, gradually, the way things unbecome themselves when whatever had been feeding them stopped being fed. By the time the darkness gave way to something else, Alex was mostly Alex again. By the time the light came up, he was entirely Alex, sitting in the car beside Jamie with his hair still standing up from the zero-gravity zone and a packet of space candy in his jacket pocket. The car stopped with a lurch. The lap bars clicked up. They were in the black hole dome at Alton Towers. The ride music was playing. The exit lights were on. The park attendant, in a blue uniform, was standing at the platform looking at them with an expression of someone who had had a very long shift and was ready for it to end. "Last ride of the day, lads. Park's closing." They walked out into the evening park. The Gothic ruins of the towers were black against the last of the sky. The lights were coming on. Somewhere near the fountain, their parents were waiting on a bench. Mom stood when she saw them. "You were only gone about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Jamie checked his watch. 8:47 p.m. They had left the bench at 8:38. "How was it?" Dad said. Alex opened his mouth to answer. Jamie watched his face. He watched Alex decide in the same way he had decided at the platform, the same specific personal decision, what to say. "Brilliant," Alex said. "Best ride in the park." Dad clapped him on the shoulder, and they walked to the car park and drove home through the Staffordshire dark, with the motorway lights going past and the radio on. And Mom, well, she fell asleep in the passenger seat by the time they hit the M6. And Alex, he ate the space candy from his pocket and stared out the window and did not say anything for the whole journey home. Jamie thought they had got away. That night, though, after Mom and Dad had gone to bed, Jamie heard Alex in the kitchen raiding the biscuit tin, which he did sometimes when he couldn't sleep, which was often. Jamie heard the tin open, heard Alex laugh at something on the television he had turned on with the volume low, and just for a second at the end of it, just a half second at the back of it, in the lowest register of it, the hinge. Jamie lay in the dark and listened to it fade. Outside his window, the August sky was deeper than usual. The stars were further away than they had any right to be, and the darkness between them, the specific darkness between them, had a quality he had not noticed before. A patience, an interest. He looked at his bedside table. His keyring was there. He had not noticed taking it. He had not remembered pocketing it. But there it was. A small glowing disc with a black hole on it, still faintly warm. The light in it circling slowly through amber and white and deep blue in the dark of his room. He threw it into his drawer, under his socks at the back. He's moved it twice since then. It was always there in the morning. Jamie thought they had got away, but sometimes when Alex laughed too hard, the donkey could be heard hiding underneath, and Jamie wondered, If they had stayed just a few moments longer, if he had eaten one more packet of that candy, if the return car had left without them, he wondered if they would have come back at all. The oldest version of the Pinocchio story? Not the Disney version. The original novel from 1883 was very dark. The donkeys on Pleasure Island did not just become donkeys. They were sold, and they worked until they broke. And when they could no longer work, they were discarded. The point of the island was not the transformation. The transformation was just the mechanism. The point of the island was ownership. What draws children to Pleasure Island in every version of the story is not the wickedness. It's the freedom. No rules, no bedtime, no parents to answer to, no consequences for any choice. The offer is one of the oldest offers there is, and it's the same offer that was made in the garden once, long ago, to two people who also thought they were getting freedom and discovered somewhat later what they had actually traded for it. Jamie and Alex Whitmore got back on the return car, not because they were especially brave or especially wise, but because at the crucial moment, Jamie said the truest thing he had. Mom and Dad are waiting. Come home. The ordinary, unglamorous, entirely sufficient truth of a family on a bench by a fountain, a mother and a father waiting, because that was what families did, and the station could not compete with that. It had nothing to offer that was more real than that. The keyring in the drawer was the story's honest admission that the line between what you escaped and what you brought home with you is not always clear. You could come back from the edge of the void and still carry something of the void with you. Fun forever. That was the promise. And it was not a lie. Not exactly. Fun forever. That was the promise. And it was not a lie. Well, not exactly. The fun does go on forever. You just have to stay for it, and staying, as the children in the braces and the girl in the school uniform would happily tell you, if they still had enough of themselves left to tell you anything, was not the same as choosing to. If you ever find yourself at a theme park after dark and see a ride that should not be running, stay behind the ropes. Because once that lap bar comes down and the car starts to move, there's no jumping off. And in the infinite playground of the black hole, the only thing larger than the cue is the sentence. Thank you so much for joining me for tonight's story. I really had fun with this one. We're going to stay in Alton Towers for a couple of episodes. Next week, a fun little tale I like to call No Strings Attached. I hope to see you then, beyond the veil.
In the shadows of neon, fun forever. Under bedroom blue light, forever. Fun forever. Forever. Fun forever. Fun forever. forever. Fun forever. Fun forever. Fun forever. Like a memory calling. Fun forever. From the other side of midnight. Fun forever. Fun forever. Forever.